23 police officers faced accountability for their role in a massacre. A disturbing network of wrongdoing unraveled within the police force, exposing a shocking reality. These officers, sworn to uphold justice, stood accused of unspeakable crimes. The community was left devastated as corruption and betrayal shattered their trust in those that meant to maintain law and order. San Miguel del Monte is a city located in the interior of the province of Buenos Aires, Argentina. It is known for its lagoon, where many people go to spend the weekend with family or simply to get away. The silent square of the city, Alsina, today nicknamed the Plaza de los Pibes, is one of the pillars of youth in San Miguel del Monte, and it is exactly that place that becomes one of the axes of this story. On Sunday, May 19, 2019, a few blocks from Plaza Alsina, lived Camila Lopez. That night, her friend Rocio Quagliarello stayed to sleep at her home as they had to go to school the next day. Camila's mother, Sanine, overheard them talking for a while in the kitchen before going to sleep, as she had been working all day. At 11:30 p.m., Camila and Rocio went outside the house because they didn't have internet and wanted to connect to the neighbor's Wi-Fi. They sat on a bench and continued to talk. A few blocks away, at the same time, Gonzalo Dominguez asked permission from his mother, Susana, to go out with his friend Danilo Sansone. They headed to Plaza Alsina. Gonzalo and Danilo were always together, hanging out and skateboarding whenever they could. They were also classmates with Rocio and Camila, and they were all between 13 and 14 years old. Susana gave permission to Gonzalo, but asked him not to be out too late since he had to get up early for school the next day. She also needed to visit her husband, who was admitted to a hospital after having suffered a stroke. Finally, there was Anibal Suarez, 22 years old, the eldest of the group. Just 2 months prior, he had bought his first car, a Fiat 147, which he was still paying off and didn't have all the papers in order yet. He worked whenever he could to raise the money to complete the payment. Previously, he had a motorcycle, but wanted to have his own car so he could visit his mother who lived in the south of Misiones. According to his family, some police officers had been monitoring ever since he was stopped for a vehicle control a month ago, where he didn't have all the necessary papers in his name. They took him to the police station and told him that the fine to be paid is 35,000 pesos, but if he paid 5,000, they would leave him alone. Returning to that same Sunday, May 19, 2019, Anibal decided to take a ride around the town square and meet Gonzalo and Danilo, whom he knew through a mutual friend. He invited them to take a ride in his new car, and they agreed. Once the three of them were inside, they continued driving until they came across Rocio and Camila. Anibal stopped and invited them to get in the car, but they hesitated because they didn't know Anibal. However, their friends assured them that he was trustworthy, so they ended up getting into Anibal's car. They kept driving around the city, near the lagoon, and everything was going well until a truck started chasing them. Suddenly, around 1 o'clock in the morning, several neighbors heard strange noises and a loud crash. Anibal had lost control of the Fiat, and the vehicle was going at quite a high speed. It crashed into a parked truck and started rolling. The car split in two, and several of the boys were thrown from it. Shortly after the accident, a police officer arrived at the scene and spoke to one of the girls involved, who was lying on the ground, told her to stay quiet and not move. All he did was treat them wrong and tell them to stay put. The neighbors had no idea what had happened. It seemed to indicate that the young people were driving at high speeds and ended up colliding violently. But there was someone at the scene who actually witnessed the whole incident. Rodrigo Macias had left his home that night and was walking towards the center of the town with a friend. At a certain moment of silence in the early morning, their tranquility was shattered by what they initially thought were noises from a motorcycle's exhaust pipe. However, they soon realized that they were actually hearing several gunshots. The shots were so close that they buzzed by their ears, and instinct compelled them to drop to the ground in a daze of fear. They witnessed how Hannibal's car collided with the truck. The scene was dimly lit due to the dust raised by Rodrigo, but he and his friend decided to record the scene with their cell phone. At that time, Rodrigo didn't know he was about to become one of the key witnesses of this massacre. Thanks to his cell phone, he would provide crucial evidence. Meanwhile, the police officers walked through the wreckage of the accident, covertly kicking the pieces of the Fiat to destroy the vehicle's identification numbers. They also tampered with the evidence, sweeping away footprints and modifying all the signs to ensure their impunity and safety. They ensured that the victims, regardless of whether they were alive or dead, were taken to the hospital as soon as possible to finish cleaning the scene. They even put a neck brace on one of the boys, pretending that he was still alive in order to remove him and erase any evidence. All the bodies were moved, marking the first stage of the policeman's plan. Then, they cleaned everything, or rather, almost everything. A neighbor who lived near the scene saw something shining in the middle of the street. He patiently waited for the police officers to leave, and once they did, he picked up 4 9mm bullet casings. The next day, they brought the casings to Danilo's father, who took it upon himself to alert the prosecutor of the case. Only Rocio had managed to survive. She was admitted to the Hospital El Cruce Varela in critical condition. The following day, on May 20th, neighbors and relatives of the victims gathered on Route 3 to demand justice for what they believed was not just an accident, but a violent persecution by the police. For 3 days, the official version circulated, claiming it was an accident. They even suggested that the young people were drinking beer and collided while trying to evade the police, resulting in their own deaths. The word massacre became a common topic of discussion in the streets of San Miguel del Monte. The parents of the victims united and gathered several pieces of evidence to support their accusations. Witnesses came forward to provide reliable testimonies of what had happened. It was becoming clear to everyone that what occurred in San Miguel del Monte was indeed a massacre. Soon it was confirmed that the police involved had manipulated the official reports to justify their actions. Initially denying any shooting, the documents detailed explosions and detonations from the exhaust pipe, a claim that was ruled out by experts but seemed designed to cover up the truth. Images and video recordings made by Rodrigo provided crucial evidence. Alexis, who worked in city monitoring, played a significant role. Although he was off duty during the massacre, the next day he checked the security cameras and discovered an image of a police officer shooting from outside the patrol car. He recorded the incident with his cell phone and shared the video via WhatsApp with a neighbor. The video quickly went viral, spreading through the town and gaining media attention. It clarified that the police were responsible for the deaths. Tests were conducted on the weapons of the police officers, confirming that shots were fired during the chase. Security camera footage revealed the involvement of at least 2 patrol cars, contradicting the police's initial claim of only 1. Autopsy results confirmed that Gonzalo had been shot with a 9mm bullet. As the hours passed, the list of arrested and suspended officers grew. Among them were those who had attempted to bribe the truck driver and remove him from the crime scene. The narrative shifted from the initial story of a reckless accident involving drunk youths to the involvement of 23 Buenos Aires police officers. Ultimately, the prosecutor concluded the evidence against the police officers was more than sufficient. On May 17, 2023, the 4 officers that were in the patrol car were found guilty of aggravated homicide and attempted homicide. The verdict carries penalties ranging from 18 to 25 years in prison. Do you think these cops got enough time for their wrongdoings? Please tell us in the comments section, and don't forget to like and subscribe.